Hello. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to SDVoE Live. I'm your host, Justin Kennington, and this is TV for Pro AV. We have a very special, very interesting show for you today. The founder of AVNation, Tim Albright, is here with us. Tim has been podcasting about AV for over a decade. He's an important personality in the Pro AV media, and today he's going to share with you some of his tips and tricks to make your communications more interesting, more engaging, and more impactful in a world where face-to-face communication is not as commonplace as it used to be. But before we get to that, we have other exciting things to talk about. We have, as usual, our after show. I bring this up at the beginning because as you watch Tim, as you watch myself, as you watch my co-host Matt talking through all this, you might have questions. And we want to answer those questions. So watch below in the chat box under my feet there. Type your questions in, and in the after shows, we're going to address those. If you're with us live, the after show is super easy to find. All I need you to do is stay right where you are. If you're watching this later on demand, maybe on the SDVoE YouTube channel, just find the link below in the episode description to the SDVoE Academy, and the after show is available on demand there. You can also interact with us on Twitter using hashtag SDVoE Live, so don't forget to do that. Again, if you've got questions, if you've got feedback, we want to see them during the show and between the shows because we're always interested in what's on your mind. What should we talk about next? And without further ado, we're going to throw up a quiz question. And on my way out, we're going to go see Matt in the studio.
Hello, Justin.
Hello, Matt.
Just frightening producer Paul because he dropped his fingers. Bless him. He dropped his fingers on that first second. So apologies, viewers, for a little roller coaster ride there. Paul dropped his fingers. Bless him. He's beaten himself up a little bit. But hey, do you know what? Practice what you preach, and mistakes can happen. So any mistake you see today, viewers, is entirely intentional. Is that right, Justin?
That's right. We've actually planned several mistakes throughout the show, and at the end, in the after show, see if you can spot them. And anybody who spots all 10 is going to win a very big prize. There we
go. So there's more mistakes to come. You've only seen a couple of mistakes so far. There are plenty more to come. How are you anyway, sir? It's not seen you for a little while. Is everything well?
Good. All good here. It's finally warming up here in my studio, which we'll learn more about in a bit, and we'll learn why it's been so cold in here for the last 3 months.
Yes, indeed.
But things are warming up.
Great. Same here. We're experiencing some super duper sun, and again, we've got a great guest on tonight. This afternoon. Forgive me. A great guest on. This chap. Talk me through him. Who's this chap?
Well, this is Tim Albright. I'm gonna guess that everyone watching knows who he is. He's a podcaster, a media personality, and AV voice of the gods extraordinaire.
Superstar. Shall we bring him in?
Let's do it.
Okay. Are you there, Tim?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good evening. Good night, wherever you are.
Hello, Tim. How are you?
I'm well.
Listen to those dulcet tones. Good.
And this is from a microphone that's built into a camera, no less.
Oh boy. Okay, so that's number 2. Are you guys watching? Tim, tell us a little about yourself, right? So I know there's been some big news on the AVNation front lately. Tell us sort of the last few years of your life in 30 seconds or less.
30 seconds. Okay. We've grown and evolved, and we're now a part of an integration company helping them with their content. But really, it's AVNation is we still strive to bring agnostic news and information and education to the industry through interviewing, people like you guys and other professionals who can give context to both, the end users, the manufacturers, and the integrators.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just to be clear, I'm interviewing you today, so don't ask me any questions. I don't have to answer a thing.
I still want to know what
we're
dropping
talking
your
about
fingers means, but that's a whole other thing.
Well, find out and stay tuned for the after show. We'll ask Matt about that. This episode today is about how do we remain impactful in a world where we're not face to face. And I wonder, has the pandemic had any effect on AVNation's business? I mean, as far as I can see, your business was always distance communication. So did anything change for you, or were you in a good spot?
We're in a good spot. What it changed for us was it made us reevaluate our own infrastructure, right? We've used Zoom for a number of years, and when everyone was using Zoom, Zoom's quality had a tendency to go down at times, right? And nothing against Zoom, but they went from 30 something like 30 million connections a day to 300 million connections a day, and so their infrastructure was not quite ready for that. So it really kind of caused us to reevaluate how we do things, and we've adjusted some things somewhat, and we can get to that in some other time. But that is the only really main difference of what we do. Because you're right, we've connected folks distantly for 10 years.
Right. Interesting. So what are your thoughts for the rest of the world, the folks who have relied on face-to-face communications? How can they improve the way that they interact with whether it's customers or colleagues? What's an outline for how to do better in a socially distant world?
Make it more personal. And what I mean by that is, the old joke that this meeting should have been an email, right? This Zoom meeting could have been an email. This Zoom meeting could have been or this video conference could have been a telephone call, right? I've found a new intimacy, and I use that word correctly here, a new intimacy with a phone call, right? And there are times when that's appropriate, and sometimes more appropriate than a video chat. You don't have to, everything does not have to be a video. I don't have to see you every single day to build a connection or to build repertoire. And yes, certainly there are times when those are necessary. So what I would say is, kind of assess the tools that you're using and why you're using it, right? If I need to talk with, kind of my marketing coordinator about something and it takes 5 minutes, that doesn't need to be a video call. Right, I can text her or call her on the phone and say, "Hey, here's bada boom, bada bing," and we get the thing done.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then there are the times when you want to talk to a broader audience, and what we've tried to do with SDVoE Live here is to be able to address that broad audience with video content, but to try and do it in a more engaging sort of way. And I wonder if you've seen any special success in some of your media properties with engaging that broad audience. That doesn't have to be a COVID-related question, but just in general, what is it about a big broadcast to a large audience that grabs attention?
Well, some of it is the interactivity, and I think it's something that we learned at AVNation early on. We did a session, and a number of other media partners of ours did them as well, education, early on in COVID. But the thing that I was struck by was the engagement of the audience. You've been on panels before, Matt's been on, I've been on them, right? I've hosted a number of them. The one thing that I took out of this was folks in the audience are hungry to share their insights and start a conversation. So it's something that we couldn't do in real life, right? When we get back in real person and we're doing a panel at InfoComm, right, or ISE, somebody has got to figure out a way to get that knowledge and that insight from the audience, because virtually it's been fantastic for me personally as a host and as someone who moderates these panels to say, Susie Johnson over here has got a great insight off something that this person said. Let's take this left turn for a second, right? And go down that road. And it's become more engaging. And I would argue that the audience has gotten more out of it.
So speaking of left turns, how about you come and join Matt and I in the studio, and let's show people a little bit about how this kind of engagement works. And then we'll take some left turns in the after show today, no doubt.
Yeah, so right now what we're seeing, guys, is we're going to give you a little bit of behind the scenes, okay? You'll see that Tim, is leaving camera 1, and with the miracle of science and modern technology, and don't worry, we're going to show you how to do this, because even you guys can do this at home. In a very short space of time from now, we're going to bring Tim in right next to me. How cool's that, JK? This is the first time we've done this on SDVoE Live, and naturally, you know, there's a few more mistakes we've got in the bag yet, so let's just see what happens. But for now, let's introduce Tim back into our stage. Hello, Tim, are you there?
I believe so.
Wow, how cool's that? How super's that? Now can I get you to run back out and come back in and back out? No, don't do that, don't do that. So thanks for coming in, Tim. So what we're going to do now is show you guys just a bit of behind the scenes to see how it's made possible, okay? And the best way to do that is to show you a little bit about how we do it here. So I'll tell you what, chaps, I'll go first and show the viewers a little bit about my setup here. So here you go, there's me. And this is the room that I'm in at the moment. And you can see what we've done here is the green element is important, okay? And that's going to come up in lots of your questions, but we key the green out. So anything that's green, we can remove. So we've painted half of this room green in our studio. And you can see up here, we've got the camera with the prompter kit. And then if we take another angle here, these are the guys sat down. This is my production team during a show. So there's Paul and there's George, and and all the software and all the desks and everything behind them. We had a little bit of a hiccup this morning, which I'll tell you about in the after show, but it was all down to the buttons here, all just magically moved around all by themselves. It was a nightmare, Tim. All the buttons got up, shifted and turned into a different button. So, hey, can happen to anybody. And then finally, there's my view. So there's my view from my studio, and as you can see here, very important, lighting. So we've got the green screen element, and then we've got the lighting there. Lots and lots of lighting, extremely important. And you'll see from some of the resource videos down here, we've placed some short videos of how to position all this stuff correctly. So there's just a very quick a run through of what I have here at the studio. Justin, let me hand it to you, and you can tell people what you've got here, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. In this photo, you can see my magic cooler. But look, my studio is here to show you that you don't need a professional level content creation studio like Matt has, or the media production area that Tim has, right? This is a hole in a corner of my basement. This is behind me is pieces of green cloth hanging from the ceiling. You can see there's cans of paint and things on the far side of that picture over there. I've got less than $1,000 in new equipment here, and that's a cheap camcorder, that's a microphone, and that's these lights and piece of fabric to get this done in a really professional way. So don't be discouraged. Tim, show us what you've got.
Absolutely. So we've got that angle here is kind of my view, looking at the cameras and the monitor there. It was off when we took the picture, but this is how I'm able to see you guys, how we're able to interact. This particular setup is for today. Now, normally I am sitting at a desk when I'm doing our podcast, so that's a little bit more closer than what we normally do. On the walls there, you will see some soundproofing. When we moved into this space, the space I'm in is actually an old conference room in our office building here, and so it was rather reverberant, rather live, and so we've got soundproofing strategically placed all around here. One of my buddies is actually the president of Orlex, so you take the dimensions here and put them up, and then this is what I'm standing on now. Typically, I don't do a whole lot of full body as we have here. Most of the time, it's waist up. But this is, our full screen green screen. One thing that Matt mentioned here is the green element, and I'll tell a funny story on myself. Last week, when we were testing this, I happened to have a tie-dye shirt on that I didn't think much of it, except for the fact there was green in it. So, I was giving George and the folks at Matt's place a little bit of trouble because of my choice of clothing. So be careful of that.
You're looking pretty good today, though.
Thank
Tim,
you.
I have to say,
It's the purple.
Just straighten the tie a little bit there. There we go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is a bit of behind the scenes. Thanks for that, Tim. It just shows you that you don't need to spend vast amounts of money. And the great thing is now that with showing you this SDVoE live, and we're doing this live, by the way, guys. And it just takes a bit of thought. You've got to think it through properly. I mean, it might look like Justin and I just jump onto the screen and we hang out and we mess around a bit, but that's good. That's how we want it to look. And I'm sure, Tim, with your experience at AVNation, people think, oh, you make it look so easy. And that's actually probably the best compliment that we as a studio can get, if people think that you make it look so easy, because there's a huge amount of work that goes into the background. You're watching timers and you're watching charts and you're looking at your notes and you're looking at monitors to see where you're positioned, because if I'm stood too far over here, you've got to practice, because it could be awful if I'm stood here and I'm not looking at my monitor, and before I know it, oh my good grief, I'm stood in front of the guest. So it's timing and it's practice, and practice, of course, makes perfect. Justin, anything more to add? You've got lots of new experiences with this.
Yeah, it's true. I do. I guess it's the challenges aren't where I thought they might be. They're in a little bit different places. We did spend a good amount of time making sure that the lighting was right in here, and I learned how much a key that is. Matt highlighted it, but there's a lot to learn about lighting that I didn't know. But meanwhile, I think the big lesson, and Matt, you can tell me if I'm telling tales out of school here, but the big lesson is just get some lighting. Just get some lighting and point it at you. And don't point it at the camera, and you're going to be 100 times better off than everybody else who's backlit by their front living room window and has their camera pointed at the sun.
Yeah.
Just the other day, I was on a Zoom call with my children. They were with me, and we were doing a class. And one of the other children in class was sitting in front of a brightly lit window with the camera pointed out the window, and this just shadowy figure of a child. And my 4-year-old says, "What's wrong with their camera? Like, why can't I see this kid?" Well, I'll take you down in the basement later and explain.
Wow. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Lighting is key, and lighting and audio as well. You'll see in the spotlight videos that we've got there for you guys to watch that everyone's got a fantastic smartphone in their pocket, and Tim, you make reference to this in the news piece, which we'll talk about shortly. But everyone's got a fantastic smartphone. The video quality is amazing, but the audio quality is really not amazing in any way, shape, or form. And it's such a shame to let high quality video get let down by audio when such a cheap lavalier mic can be a wired one. Please don't go wireless. The wireless Pro studio mics are $600-700 up. Whereas if you just stood doing a piece to camera and you're recording yourself or you're presenting to other people, you can have a wired microphone with extensions, and that's going to cost you less than $150. But the fact is, you can plug it into your phone, and you've got fantastic audio quality. So there's little things like that you'll get all of these tips and hints on the resources section below. So check those out. Tim, anything else to add to the little hints and tips list?
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. Number one, a bit off of what you just said, the audio, and then also the I guess the best way to put this is some sort of stand or some sort of stability, especially if you're using a mobile device. If you're not, and obviously your camera stand typically is on your monitor, but there are several that they start at as little as $20 or $30 on up to several hundred. But these are devices that you can put on a gimbal, exactly like and you can set them up, and then it creates a world of difference between you just holding your microphone, your camera right there, and putting it on a tripod.
Absolutely. And this little device at the top here, Amazon, $5. It's so cheap. Again, we've got the kit list for you in the little help to the resources section at the bottom. Listen, guys, while we're all here, shall we talk through a little bit of news? Shall we do a bit of news? Let's do some news.
Do it. I've always wanted to do the news with Tim on this side.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is great.
Tim, this is something that close to your heart because, well, you wrote it. Or actually, you didn't write it, but you may as well have done. You're credited for it. So I love this piece. Well chosen. JK, biggest misconceptions. I think we've actually covered quite a lot of them already. But yeah, for me, when you start reading it, the first paragraph just makes you smile. I love the comparison that's made to 8-bit, when you get that dreadful image and audio quality. And it was a doctor talking to a patient, I believe. How can you not have good quality audio and video when you're talking to one of your patients? Justin, what was your takeaway from this?
I think we covered a lot of the tips and techniques mentioned in the article here. I thought there was an interesting point, and you kind of touched on it, Matt, about wired versus wireless. They said the myth is that wireless is always better, right? And then what they talk about in the article is, especially when it comes to microphones, wireless can be a big challenge. I'll admit, in my little studio here, one place I splurged is on a wireless microphone, but that's because I'm doing this more than twice, 2-3 times a month, and I was sick of just having a cord, even though it worked perfectly. But I splurged on as Matt said, a $600 or $700 wireless microphone. But I had a $30 wired microphone that worked beautifully. I just wanted to be a snot about it and go wireless. But that was one of the things I took away.
You could spend an awful lot of money. Yeah, that's the danger. Don't have a few too many vodkas and then think, hey, I'm going to buy myself a load of camera equipment, because you'll be $20,000-$30,000 down in no time. Tim, do you want to tell us a bit more about this article? Because it's a great article.
Well, absolutely. And what it takes, one of the things about video conferencing in general is, folks focus so much on the video. But the one thing about it is with bad audio, the video is worthless, right? We've all been on, video conferencing calls where to save bandwidth, they will say, oh, hey, why don't you just, kill the video? And the reason for that is you can still communicate with audio, right? So that I would argue that is tantamount, that is the paramount necessity when it comes to video conferencing. We also talked about, the lighting that's also in the article. The other thing is the compatibility of the softwares. There are a number of video codecs, soft codecs. What was the last count? There was like 260 different versions of them that you can choose. Make sure that it works not only for you and your organization, but for the people outside the organization. You don't want to get in a situation where you're trying to connect with a client, and their organization or their company doesn't allow Teams. They don't allow Zoom, they don't allow Cisco, whatever. Make sure that the soft codec system that you use is going to be available and accessible to everybody.
Planning, right? Perfect planning prevents poor performance, and it's very, very important. Make it look easy by setting everything up, planning and knowing your tech. Really, really important. Tim, may we have you back for the after show? Can you stick around for the after show, because this is fun, and I've no doubt we've got heaps and heaps of questions from our viewing audience. So what we're going to do now, everybody, is head over to the second quiz question. We're going to say bye to Tim for now. We'll head over to the second quiz question. We'll see you at the after show, Tim. Here it comes. As we suspected, an awful lot of people coming in on the chat. Lots of questions, lots of answers rather to the questions that we had. That was fun, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed. And thanks to Tim for taking that tripod out of the way. I was worried Matt would trip on that.
I know. I'm pleased he did take it, because it was a gift to him. I didn't want him to think that I was just I was going to take it back. So I'm pleased he took it away with him, and hopefully he'll make some use from it. Guys, we've asked you a number of questions here, 2 in fact. So we've got lots and lots of responses. I won't go through them all now, but yeah, we've got lots of responses. So we'll cover those in the after show if that's okay. JK, maybe just a little bit of housekeeping. Sorry, go on.
My only comment on the questions was I thought that it was 6 Ps. But maybe it is just 5.
Now listen, we'll talk about that in the after show. It's 5, it's 5 Ps for this viewing audience.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Good stuff. So let's
P as in PG.
Let's give some housekeeping, please, before you get me into trouble.
So we've now been broadcasting for a few weeks now successfully in the SDVoE Academy and on Twitter Live and live on YouTube. So all of you who are enjoying this outside of the Academy right now, hello to you. Also, to anyone watching this on demand and not live, I want to make you aware that the after show is available on demand, but only inside the SDVoE Academy. So if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, for example, I want you to come to the SDVoE Academy, and look in the description below my YouTube feed, Those of you in Academy, that's the resources section. But come to the SDVoE Academy by clicking the link. You'll find the after show. You'll find all the links to the resources that we've mentioned, which include, Matt, several items for folks to download. Not just the news articles today, but there's a shopping list for things you might need to put on a simple presentation like this. Some elements of a program that we call Spotlight. And Clavia Group has put together something they call the Spotlight program that allows you to build your own presentations, to build your own communications in this simple way, and have a team behind you to turn those into videos that are for you to use to go out and interact with your clients and push content out there that's more interesting than just your blog, right? People love to consume video content, and I think high quality presentation content like this is very important.
And don't worry, we don't charge too much extra for making, the zoom in errors and the fade out errors. We can fade you out in the middle of you speaking, can't we, Paul? We can do all of that, no extra charge. It's easy peasy. So I was going to make a point, Sando. I was going to make a point to you guys as well that we're making it sound easy, and we don't want to come across as glib. We just, hopefully you can see, we really enjoy what we do. Tim does, and we do. We love it. Never sort of sit there scratching your head. Reach out and ask the question. You can reach out to me directly at Clavia. You can reach out to us at SDVoE. We're here to help. We're not just here to set you up for a great big bill to come across us and we do it for you. We want you to do this.
Connect with us on LinkedIn with the links over there.
There it is.
I'm just pointing out all the URLs today. We got a chat down there. We got resources right above. We got the LinkedIn links over there.
Yeah, don't be stuck. It's really important. And once you get the first one or two out the way, once you've done them, and your audience sees it, just while we're here, because we've got a couple of minutes, if you don't mind. But there's one thing I always say to people about the webinar thing, right? Over this horrible past year or so, we've had scenarios where somebody's been in a webinar, somebody's had to deliver a webinar and doesn't want to deliver it in front of 6 or 7 people who don't want to be at the webinar. So all of a sudden you've got this group of people who don't want to be there, and it's mad, nuts. And just applying some of this thought process and these technologies means that then the person who's delivering the webinar can say, hey, I'm here to do this live presentation, but let me start off by showing you a short video of me presenting what I want to present in a format that will engage you and a way that can really make me shine as if I used to shine, when I used to shine standing in front of you on a stage. It helps you to be the presenter that you are. So it's really, take this stuff on, because practice what you preach. Sorry, I know you don't like me going off like that, but it's just a passion thing. I love all this sort of stuff. I'm in my zone.
You're right on. I think the key is mixing a quality, engaging production with that direct engagement with the audience, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Not to make too obvious a segue, but we're coming up to that after show where we're going to interact with you. I think that's a key part of it. Tim brought it up. That's what the audience is gonna be there for. That's what the audience is gonna remember. There's so much talking head, blah blah blah, that we can give you. But when we get to have a conversation, that's when it becomes meaningful, and that's when it becomes valuable to everyone.
Absolutely. Just in 20 seconds, tell us what's going on next time.
Episode 12, So You Think You Know USB. Our friend Tavis Sparrow from Icron is going to join us, and we're going to talk about, mostly we're going to focus on what's the difference between USB 2, USB 3, and what does it mean to Pro AV? Where are the real applications for it?
Cool. Well, with that in mind, we'll head off to the after show. You go and get yourself ready. I'm off now. We'll see you in literally seconds. Thanks for being at this show. We'll see you shortly. Bye-bye.